Hi everyone, welcome back. Today I'm going to show you how I made this fabric paint ice cream tumbler. This is I believe a 22-ounce water bottle I purchased from Walmart on clearance. It already has a pink background, but I'm going to sand that down and I'm going to apply my ice cream fabric to it. I do sand this down really well so that the glue has something to hold on to. So this is a little strip of fabric I purchased at Joanne Fabrics. It reminds me of summertime with the pretty ice cream fabric. And I just purchased a quarter of a yard, which fit perfectly height-wise for this tumbler. So like with any fabric tumbler, you need Mod Podge. And here I am just making sure that this is the right height for this tumbler. I'm okay with it having a little bit of an overhang. I'll go in later and cut off the extra. And just determine which side looks like top and bottom so you can have it going the right direction. So I'm going to apply my Mod Podge directly from this little squeeze bottle. Makes it really easy to put on my tumbler. And make sure that your tumbler is sanded down really well, whether it's stainless steel or pre-painted like this one. I chose not to spray paint it a different color before this. I'm going to go in later with some paint. So just spread some Mod Podge evenly on the surface. This tumbler is pretty straight. I don't believe it has any bit of a taper, so this applying the fabric to it is really easy. And you just want smooth, thin strokes of Mod Podge. And then I'm just going to rub it really well to get that to adhere to the fabric. So keep going and until you have all of the fabric attached, and then we'll work on trimming off those edges. So this does have the rough edge on it, overhang, but I'm going to address that here in just a minute. Anytime you're going to trim off the overhang, you want to make sure that you have a really sharp razor blade, razor knife. And I'm just cutting along as straight as I can to create a seam and to cut off the excess. This one cut will trim the underneath part and the top part, if that makes sense. You can see here when I peel it back up. I always do my center seam first, and then I'll go back in and trim the top and the bottom. Make sure that you apply more Mod Podge. You want this to seal really well so you have a good seal before you do any resin covering. This is 100% cotton fabric I purchased in the quilting area at Joann's. They have so many cute fabrics, and I'm really liking making fabric tumblers. So this is that Mod Podge did dry. I'm just holding my razor knife down and holding the cup up to it, putting some firm pressure there to cut the fabric. And this is why you want to have a really sharp razor to cut that fabric with no issues. This fabric does fray a little, so I'm just going to pull off the extra little strings that come with it, and once I Mod Podge that down, I won't have any more issues. I'm just kind of holding the blade straight and rolling my tumbler away from me, trying to get it as straight as possible. I'm not too worried about it if it is a little bit uneven, because we're going to go in with some drips to cover that area in a little while. So now I'm going to start applying my layers of Mod Podge over the fabric. I generally will make 3 full layers over this to seal that fabric in fully. Make sure you get the edges, make sure you get all of it evenly coated, because it's very important to get a really good seal on this before you epoxy this tumbler. If you epoxy it and you don't have a good seal, you could possibly have oily looking spots where the resin would soak through into the fabric, and you don't want that because it's not very pretty. So I generally will do 3 full coats, and just do thin coats, let them dry fully in between, and make sure that Mod Podge, the final layer, dries completely on that tumbler before you ever go in with any epoxy. So before I want to epoxy this tumbler, and this is after the 3 coats of Mod Podge have dried, I'm going to go in with some painter's tape, and I'm going to tape off the top and bottom of this tumbler because I want to spray paint them white. So I'm going to tape this off as straight as I can, and I'm going to add some press and seal. Glad Press and Seal, I couldn't remember the brand, to the center part to prevent any sorry, I can't talk today, spray paint from getting on my tumbler. This Glad Press and Seal is great for doing this. You can use cling wrap also, but I just had some Press and Seal and it just works great. So I'm going to tape off that metal rim also, where the screw is for the top. I don't want to have that painted either. So I'm just going to go outside and give this a little coat of some 2x matte finish white to that top and bottom portion. So after it's dry, I'm just going to remove all of that wrapping, and it looks nice with the white. And we're going to get this little guy on my tumbler, or my tumbler turner, and get some resin on there. So I'm going to go in with some fine cut white opal glitter and a little bit of a chunkier opal glitter just to give it a little bit of sparkle. I think I'm going, it's hard because when I do voiceovers I've already done this, but I believe I mixed the finer cut glitter in with my resin, and then I'm going to go in with a little chunkier glitter and kind of do an ombre waterfall at the top and bottom just to give it a little more depth. I guess we'll see if I'm right. So applying this chunkier opal in a waterfall ombre pattern will help soften that line made by the fabric leading into the paint, and it just is pleasing to the eye, and of course adding a little bling is always a good thing. So after the resin is cured, this is the next day, and there's that glitter. It's real pretty. I am going to use this tulip metallic slick fabric paint to make my drips. It's a really pretty white, shimmery metallic fabric paint. Never used the fabric paint to make drips before, but I wanted to give it a try because waiting for my resin to get thick enough to apply drips is just so annoying. So I wanted to try this, and I thought it would look like whipped cream or frosting on a sundae. And then I'm going to apply these little sprinkles, faux sprinkles, that I purchased on Amazon. I'll leave that in the link below to add an ice cream sprinkle flare. So I'm just applying a thick layer of the fabric paint to the top of the rim. And you'll see here in a minute how I get that to drip down. I was very pleasantly surprised with how this turned out, and I think I'll be using this more in the future for my drips. So much easier than doing resin drips. So I'm just kind of adding it in a thick way. And I want it to look like melted ice cream, so I was okay with it being a little uneven. But all you do is you gotta tap it down like that. That's why you add so much, and that will create the drips. Doesn't that start to look like melted ice cream? And it's got a really pretty shimmer to it because it's the metallic white, almost like a pearl. So if there's any spots where you don't like the drips or you want to add a little more, just add more to it and keep tapping it down. I wanted it to be a little bit thicker, so that's why I'm adding this second coat. Now keep in mind, if you're putting this fabric paint on a tumbler, you will have to go in and cover it with the resin to seal it all in. But I think it looks really neat. So before it dries, I'm going to apply my sprinkles. Make sure you don't get these mixed up with real sprinkles. They're rubber. They won't taste very good. So first I thought I'd be creative and, apply them with some tweezers, but I thought, what the heck? I just started sprinkling them on, and then I go back in with my tweezers and just kind of lay them flat. to show you the process of me putting the resin over the drips and sprinkles. You just want to kind of have a light hand with it. Those sprinkles are pretty well set in that drip, so they shouldn't move, but you still want to be careful because you might knock some of them loose. This is going to be a textured tumbler, so it's okay to not have that drip be completely smooth. That is actually not what I was going for. Just try to get in all the little nooks and crannies of it and try to get it as evenly covered as you can. I end up going in and doing 2 full layers of resin over the tumbler just to make it nice and smooth in the areas that it needs to be smooth, and to ensure that those drips and the sprinkles are all sealed. And here she is, all resined and cured. It's so pretty. I hope you like this new twist on a drip tumbler. I know I'm not the first one to try this, but I am really happy with how it turned out. I think it looks like melted ice cream on a summer day. Thank you so much for watching my video. If you're new to my channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button to see more of my videos in the future. Give me a thumbs up and leave any comment that you'd like. I'm happy to answer any questions. And I hope you really enjoyed this video and try it yourself. Happy crafting, everyone.